Okay, good morning. So last session I given an overview of what we are going to discuss in this Angular session. Yes, yesterday I just given you the overview of the topics that we are going to cover here and few important terms we discussed yesterday. Like I will give an overview. We discussed about what are the challenges in modern web development. So what are the major challenges in modern web development? We discussed about that. Few important challenges, I hope you remembered. So what are those? Unified user experience, fluid user experience, and loosely coupled and extensible architecture, and simplified deployment. All these are the challenges in modern web. Now, how you can overcome this? So what is solution? Solution, we discussed that better to build what kind of applications? Single page applications. So instead of building traditional web applications, you better build single page applications. Single page applications will have all these abilities like unified experience, fluid experience, and all. Now the question is how to build single page applications. Can we use JavaScript and jQuery to build single page applications? Yes. Then what are the problems? We can use JavaScript and jQuery to build single page application. But what are the issues? What are the issues with JavaScript and jQuery? Why we are not continuing them to build single page applications? Why you are going with new technologies? So the problem with JavaScript and jQuery, we discussed at some points. Lot of DOM manipulations, lot of references. So lot of coding, low coding. Applications are heavy. So not easily extensible, easy to extend. They are not easy to extend. So not easy to extend. So all such features are the problems with JavaScript and jQuery. Another point is JavaScript is a language and jQuery is a library. JavaScript is language and jQuery is library. Language and library can build application, but they cannot control application flow. So then what is solution? So what is a solution? The solution is nothing but better use a framework. What is difference between library and framework? We will see now. These are all points we discussed yesterday. So what are the issues, how to overcome them? We learned about that. So today we are going to discuss technically about. So what is difference between a library and a framework? What is difference between a library and framework? We will see now. So I will show you one practical approach. You don't need to worry about what coding I am doing. Just observe the concept, you can understand. See, what is difference between library and framework is, suppose we are building a web application, and for this we are using a library. We are using a library for web application. Library like jQuery. jQuery is the library for building web application. So we are building a web application by using a library. Example of library, jQuery is library. And jQuery library uses language JavaScript. It uses JavaScript. So what is the approach of libraries? So you built an application with the library. First, the application first page loads into browser. That means we request a page in the browser, then first page loads into browser. Web application always loads index page into browser first. After page loads into browser, then what happens is library loads into browser. After page is loaded, library loads into browser. After library is loaded, so the problem here is, so library is passive. Library is passive. Passive means not active. Library is not active. So library is loaded, the page is loaded, but it's not responding. Then what we have to do is to make library active. To make library active, actually our application uses, yeah, to make a library active, so browser events are required to make the library active. So browser uses events to make library active. So to make library active, browser uses events like on load, on click, on change, on blur. In JavaScript, you might have learned about events. So browser uses events to make the library active. Once the library is active, now what happens is, actually the static DOM is converted into dynamic DOM. Dynamic DOM. The static DOM is converted into dynamic DOM. So that is, I hope you all people know DOM, because you are coming from the background of JavaScript and HTML. Obviously, you should know DOM, document object model, right? So when page loads into browser, initially when page loads into browser, actually it loads static DOM. It loads static DOM. This static DOM need to be converted into dynamic DOM. So page is loaded into memory. Page is loaded into memory. And after page loads the DOM into memory, then library loads. After library is loaded, library is not active. It is not taking control over application. Then to make the library active, we have to use some browser events like on click, on change, on blur. Then it makes the static DOM into dynamic, then application starts responding. This is the approach of library. I will show you here. So a simple example I will show you. So suppose I'm using here just a example for you, library. I'm creating a simple HTML file, and I'm configuring some content here. See, I'm using doc type HTML head title. This is library. And I'm using a library called jQuery. I have the script jQuery. I'm using jQuery library. Now here we have an option user name. and a text box, input type text, and ID as txt name. And here we have some heading. So now what I want to do is I want to write a simple program. The concept is when user enters the name. So here I want to display that. That means I'm using some hello, and inside a span. So I want to display that message hello, that username. That means when user is typing the username here, I want to get that and display here. Generally in JavaScript and jQuery, how it happens. So see, in jQuery, I'm writing a program. So script, so we are writing a program. And in this, what we are doing is we are accessing here, so span.html. In that we want to display, so here dollar hash. So txt name dot val, whatever value entered in text box, we have to collect that value and display inside span. This is how we write in jQuery. In your JavaScript, document, get element by ID, query selectors, you can use them. So here, this is library. And see, our logic is okay. Our logic is correct. It is saying that collect value from text box and display inside span. Now you see the page is loaded. So the page is loaded. And after the page is loaded, the library is also loaded. You can see I will inspect, and here you go to, in the inspect, go to network category. In the network category, you just refresh the page. When I refresh the page, you can see page is loaded HTML, and the library is also loaded. jQuery library is also loaded. And I am typing here, it's not working. Page is loaded, library is loaded, but it's not working. That means now we have to use events. So that means what we have to do is we need to tell when to update this, when to collect the value and update into the span. That we have to do by using an event. We should say that inside text box, when key up, understood? Key up is an event. On key up, we need to perform this functionality. On key up, we want this functionality to happen. That means library is loaded, but library is not active. It's loaded, but it is not active. It's compiled successfully, but it's not responding. We need events. For every purpose, we need events. On change, on click, on blur, on load, on focus, all these. Now you see here, now when I am typing something, it's working fine. That means now a library cannot control application flow. A library can only build application. It cannot control the application flow. So that is the reason you have to use a framework. That is the reason in real-time projects, suppose you are learning Java, .NET, PHP, Python, something, and you go to a company and say that I know Java. Then first question he will ask, what frameworks you learned? Because only Java, nothing. For a real world development process, only Java is nothing. We need a developer to have a knowledge on a framework. Java people learn framework like Spring, Hibernate. PHP people learn frameworks like Cake PHP, Code Igniter. Python people learn frameworks like Django, Flask. .NET people learn frameworks like ASP.NET MVC. So that means without a framework, you are not a developer for real world development process. So that means we need a good framework, because framework have the ability to do two things. It can build the application and it can control the application flow. We need a framework to control the application flow. For example, suppose we are using a web application, in that we are using framework like Angular, JS, all these are frameworks. We are using a framework like Angular. Now up to this, everything same. First step, what happens is page loads into browser and it loads the static DOM. After page is loaded, what happens? Framework loads into browser. After framework is loaded into browser, now what is the speciality of the framework? Is framework is active. Framework is active. That means it will take control of application. And once framework is directly active, the static DOM is converted into dynamic DOM. That means the static DOM is converted into dynamic DOM. That means now application starts responding. So what is the advantage of the framework? You don't need much logic to write. Framework will take control. It will get the data from a reference. It will store that in one reference. It will bind that into the UI. Let's see the same concept in a framework. So I will install a framework in my project, npm install and Angular. I'm installing a framework called Angular in my project. So I'm installing this Angular framework. Okay, let's build a page. This time framework HTML. Okay, here I'm designing the page, doc type HTML, head and title. So framework, and we will link the framework file. Script source, it is in node modules angular.js. This is framework. Now in the body section, the Angular framework will take control. And I'm not writing any events. And here I have your name and a text box, type text. And this is using a model to store username. And here in the next line, so I am writing hi. So here I want to display that username, ng model. Yeah. And here I am accessing the username. Now see here, I am not writing any event. I have no DOM manipulations, nothing. No get element by ID, tag names or anything. Now you see, this is the program we written and it is working fine. Now that is the ability of a framework. Now this time, no DOM manipulations, no events. I haven't defined any event. That means the framework will take control of application. It knows where the data is. It knows where to show it. It knows when to show it. These all are managed by a framework. Actually, these frameworks are like, you will hear various. So like MVC, MVP, MVVM. What is the ability of framework? Not only building the application, but also control the application flow. So that means library can build application and framework can also control the application flow. So we can use a framework. So what is the difference between library and framework? So this is the question. And what is the answer for this? The answer is library can build application, but cannot control application flow. So framework can build application, and control the application flow and control application flow. There are various frameworks available. So here the point is, we started a framework called AngularJS. AngularJS. So we started with a framework called AngularJS. AngularJS is a framework. It is a framework. AngularJS is a framework. Actually, so many frameworks came. But one of the reason why Angular became popular is Angular belongs to Google. So Google developed this framework. Google developed a framework called AngularJS. And when Google developed this framework, actually, this framework was there before world knows about this. For example, just one simple example. You have seen this website. Let me show you. Suppose, I hope you people know developers.google.com. Do you know about this? Have you ever been here? This is Google developers community. Google have a developers community, right? Now the point is, so what is this? What happens here? It's a community, developers community. Suppose you are using Google Play Store. In Google Play Store, so many apps are present. Are all those apps developed by Google? Those are all not developed by Google. They are contributed by developers like us, right? And for contributing apps to Google, Google pays us. Google gives money for contributing an app to them. If Google likes it, it reviews it, and it is good, then they pays you for that. The point is, now developers started building applications for Google. When they started building application for Google, so then they have a doubt. First doubt is, what technology I can use for building applications for you? Which technology I can use? That means developer asked Google, I will build an app for you. So which technology I can use? Now Google says that whatever technology you know, you use it. You are Java developer, I have a library for you, install it and build. You are a .NET developer, I have a library for you, install it and build. That means whatever technology you know, use it and build, give it to us, we will take care about it. Then what developers have done? Developers started building apps for Google, and they given apps to Google. But Google have their own apps. Our developers are not very much satisfied. We were using HTML, CSS, JavaScript for building the front end and everything. And when we look at Google own apps, then we are very much confused how they can get this much good experience. Then we asked Google people that what you are using. So then Google said that we have our framework called Angular. We have our framework called AngularJS. So that means developers don't know about AngularJS until Google said that we have it. That means then developers asked Google that why can't you make it open source? That means give it to us so that we will also use it. Then Google made it as open source. That means Angular is there before the world knows about Angular. So just like so many languages, I hope you people know Google have a language called Go. Have you heard about that? Now for artificial intelligence applications, now it is becoming very popular among developers. People are learning it along with Python. So Go language becoming popular for building IoT, artificial intelligence apps. So it is there from several years. Developers are now coming to know about it because Google made it as open source. So how Angular came into picture? So because of this developers community, that means now so many points are there here. So that means developers started using Angular JS. But what are the issues with Angular JS? Issues with Angular JS. What are the issues with Angular JS? What are advantages? Developers started Angular JS. What is the first advantage already we given? It is a framework and no DOM manipulation. No DOM manipulations. That means less coding, less references. We don't need much coding, less references are required. That means we started using a framework to leverage all the benefits that framework provides to overcome all the issues that we are having with a language and a library. So that means Angular JS is completely decoupled from DOM manipulations. That is one of the major advantages of that. These are all features of Angular JS. Now developers started using Angular JS, but Angular JS have some issues, some problems are there. What are the problems with Angular JS? First important problem with Angular JS is, the issues with Angular JS is, it is not designed for what you are using. It is not designed for what you are using. So in that case, hence lot of gaps. It is not designed for what you are using. That is the reason lot of gaps will be there. lot of gaps. I will tell you that point. For example, see, I will explain this, what is meant by gaps. See, I will save this. I will give you all this in the notes. I will give you a link, a GitHub link. Yeah. This is the link where I will upload all the classroom notes for a few days. After our verifications, registration, everything is completed. So our online notes will be on a Google Classroom. I will share that classroom code with you. Till that moment, whatever we are discussing in the class, I will upload in this. At the end, for offline people, I will share it. For online people, I am pinging here. For offline people, so I will give you at the end of the class, I will give you that link. So notes I will upload there. These diagrams and everything till the demos are happening. Right now, here, what is meant by gaps? Let's see what is gaps. For example, suppose I will just give you, suppose a supermarket is there. So a supermarket came to us and asked to build an application to manage their business. That means a supermarket wants an application to manage its business. Then which technology will you use to build an application for it? Which technology you will use to build an application for it? Obviously, every person have his own egos. Java person says Java, .NET person say .NET, PHP person say PHP. They have their own egos. Then that's not the point actually. That's not the point. That means how a software company decides which technology to use to build an application for a client. That means in Wipro, Infosys, TCS, in these companies, IBM, only Java developers are working. There are no other technology people, no .NET, no PHP, no Python, nothing. Only Java, only .NET, nothing. So then the point here is, the concept here is how a company decides which technology to use for a project, for an application. Actually, they will first prepare a table. The table contains the details like as is and 2B, 2B and gap. This is the table that we prepare first. So as is, 2B and gap. What is this table? Table is nothing but as is means what your technology is capable of. What your technology is capable of, what it is having. 2B means what client wants. What client wants. What client wants. Is your technology having everything that client wants? If it is not having, that is called gap. For example, you people suppose learning Java. So if I ask you a question like in Java, how to write a program to read barcode, how to write a program, or how to write a program to generate a barcode or generate a QR code, you know it? Then without that, how you can build an application for supermarket? Because supermarket needs a barcode reading. Every product have a barcode, through that only bill comes. And without that, how your technology is capable of building an application for supermarket? That means Java don't have anything to read barcode or to write barcodes. Then they depend on third party. Suppose you have to design a registration form, and that registration form should not be used by robots. Then we need captcha. Then if anybody asks, you are Java developer, how to design captcha for a form? We don't have anything in Java. Then we say that we have a third party, we will use it. That means every technology is not capable of doing everything. So that means what client wants and what your technology is capable of, this is what as is to be. What your technology is not capable of, that is called gap. Then how technologies fill the gap? How technologies fill the gap? By using integration of third parties. Technologies fill the gap by using third party. That means now the point is, suppose you are a Java learner or a .NET or PHP. If I ask you like, I will give you a table. For this table, you have to prepare a pie chart graph. How? We don't have anything in Java for that. We need to use a graph library provided by third parties. That means every technology is not capable of doing everything in the world. They always have gaps. Then how to fill the gaps? Third party. For example, now, so you have Java. Java is having 20% gaps. We have PHP. PHP is having only 2% gaps. And we have .NET, which is having suppose some 30% gaps. Then our company will prefer using this for the building an application. Why? Because 98% it can fulfill. Only 2% we have issues. Then how do we fill those 2% gaps? By using third party. So that is how a software is decided to build an application. It's not like this software is trending, I will use this, that is trending. They don't care about your trending softwares. They always care about the business requirements. That is the reason you go to an MNC, one project will be in Java, another project in .NET, another in PHP, because they have different clients. For every client, they build different application, and according to client requirement, different softwares are required. Right? That is the point. So you see, this is a third party. You observe Telerik.com. This is a third party. This is third party. Telerik is a third party. You observe carefully here. See, these people are customers of Telerik. You see, these are customers of Telerik. NASA is customer of Telerik. IBM is customer of Telric. Microsoft is customer of Telric. That means now the point is they are customer of Telric means Telric is providing software support for those people. You may ask like why Microsoft, IBM are customers? They are software development companies. They can build. No, they will not build. For example, you are having a mobile or you are having a camera. So when you are having a mobile, your mobile is Samsung or your mobile is MI or something. But the camera used in mobile belongs to another company. And the lens used by that camera is another company. You know that? Right now you cannot ask like why Samsung you can't build camera yourself, why Samsung you can't build everything by yourself. In a Samsung mobile you will see chip belongs to some other people, you will see memory card belongs to some other people, camera belongs to some other people. Only on the Samsung body it will be Samsung. Then you cannot ask why Samsung you can't build everything, camera also yours, lens also yours, because their business is only a specific. They are not involved in everything. They don't want to involve in everything. In that case, they say that, okay, we will build this, we will borrow camera from here, this from here and build a mobile. Software development is also same. Your technologies are never capable of doing everything what client wants. They need to depend on a lot of third parties. You see, I will go to demos. You see, they have support for your Java, .NET. You see, they have support for JSP. So I will go to JSP demos and you will see that you see these are all the tools. So these are all the tools. They have so many things they are having. And you see barcode reader, QR code reader, barcode generator, and for that they provide a separate library. How to give that? They provide a separate library for you. You have to download it and use it. And these third parties are not free every time. You have to pay and download the library. You have to pay. This is not free. Some are free. So, but for real world projects, high level projects, those free are not enough. For your learning level, okay. But at high level, we need more features. So then they are not available with the free trial options. We have to buy. Your companies will purchase these libraries and give to you. You have to import them and use them and build an application. That means now why I discussed about all this concept, because if Angular is not designed for our requirements, it is built for Google's requirements and you are using it, then obviously it will have gaps. That means Angular is not designed for us, but we are using it. Then obviously you have to face some problems. So we have to fill those gaps by using alternative techniques. That is one of the major problem with AngularJS. Another important problem, I hope everyone understood what is meant by gap. Another important point is Angular uses legacy type. AngularJS is legacy. Legacy type means legacy means it is very heavy and it is very slow. Angular uses a legacy library. Legacy library means, for example, I will show you one simple point. Actually, legacy and we have modern and legacy types will be there. I will better say this as asynchronous. Legacy and asynchronous. So, or people better say as modular. Legacy and modular. Actually, for example, suppose we are writing some program. I will take a good example, simple example. Suppose, I hope you people know Bootstrap. Suppose you know Bootstrap. Bootstrap, we have a file called bootstrap.css. This file is approximately 4 MB size, 4 MB size, and approximately it is having so 10,000 lines code, 10,000 lines code. Now what you are doing is you are importing this in a HTML file. In that HTML file, you have a button. In the button, we are using a class and button class is BTN and BTN some primary, that is the button class. By using this class, we are building a button in our HTML page. For that, actually these two classes come from this file. Now the question here is to use these two classes, you are importing all these 10,000 lines code. Is it reasonable? That is not great. That is not great. That means you are importing a file with 10,000 lines code to use just only 2 out of that. That's not great. This is called legacy. Legacy means it loads everything, but we are not using everything. That makes application heavy. That makes application slow. That is the reason now latest technologies are going with modular approach. Actually, your Java, .NET technologies also earlier legacy. I hope majority from Java 8 and .NET 4 version onwards, they become modular. They introduced a asynchronous approach, modular library. Modular library means only the library that is required for that situation will be loaded. Only the library that is required for that situation will be loaded. If entire library is loaded and you are using only some features in it, that is legacy type. And Angular.js is legacy type. Angular.js is legacy type. And it is very heavy. It is very slow. And another important, Angular.js uses JavaScript. If Angular.js is using JavaScript, one more problem is JavaScript is not strongly typed. JavaScript is not strongly typed. JavaScript will not support all OOP features. It will support only some features of OOPs, not everything. You cannot have a private constructor in JavaScript. So you cannot have an abstract class in JavaScript. You can have a class in JavaScript, but you cannot have an abstract class in JavaScript. You cannot have public, private, protected modifiers for members in a class. Then it is not a complete OOP language. It is having only some features of OOPs. It is not a complete OOP language. Then obviously extensibility issues will come. Extensibility issues will come. Reusability issues will come. Reusability issues will come. Testing issues will come. Separation issues will come. Separation issues will come. These are all the problems because of using JavaScript. These are the issues with Angular.js. Actually, when frameworks started, people started with Angular.js. We started using Angular.js. Then Google identified that these are the issues people facing. Then what happened is Google's Angular.js team thought of developing a new technology, to overcome all these issues. And Angular.js version was 1x. That means the last version, the latest version is 1.8. That means still it is there. Even today, Angular.js is there. Companies are asking for this old because already their applications are built in it. Then they are asking for that. Angular.js is still there. But its version is 1x. They have all these problems. That's the reason. Then Google Angular.js team thought of building something new without disturbing this. Means an alternative. Why they don't want to disturb this? Because already millions of applications are running in it, and you cannot simply say that stop it and use something else. That means they have decided to build an alternative for Angular JS. And when they thought of building an alternative for AngularJS, they also decided to build a new language. And Google started a new language called EtScript. They started a new language called EtScript. To overcome the problems of JavaScript, they started a language called EtScript. But suddenly what happened is Microsoft Anders Hazelberg Anders Hazelberg, he developed a language called C Sharp for a Microsoft .NET technology. He built a language called C Sharp, and he built a supporting language called TypeScript. He built a supporting language called TypeScript in the place of JavaScript. And Microsoft saw that. So Google is trying to build a new language similar to TypeScript. And they asked Google team, why you are doing it? We already have. They asked the Google team that why you are building another language like this? We already have it. Then Google had a look on Microsoft's language called TypeScript, and they are very much satisfied because they are trying to build the same again. Then Google decided that, okay, why not we use this language? That means now Google decided to use TypeScript as language for Angular. That means Angular belongs to Google and TypeScript belongs to Microsoft. TypeScript belongs to Microsoft. And what are the advantages of TypeScript? I will tell you, because we are going to start learning it practically now. We will first learn TypeScript. I will tell you how TypeScript is different from JavaScript. I will tell you all the differences we will discuss. But so they started a language called TypeScript, and they are successful in using it. Already they were using that language, Microsoft. And suddenly Google was trying a new language similar to that, and they dropped it and they adopted this TypeScript. And to overcome the issues of AngularJS, they started a new framework called Angular 2.0. They started a new framework called Angular 2. What are the specialties of Angular 2? It uses TypeScript instead of JavaScript. And what is the specialty? So TypeScript is a OOP language, complete OOP language. It supports all the features of OOPs. Another important is Angular introduced modular library. Modular library means not legacy. Only the library that is required for that situation will be loaded. Only the library that is required for that situation will be loaded. That means it makes the application lightweight application. Angular 2 is 10 times faster than AngularJS as per Google reference. As per Google team, Angular is 10 times faster than AngularJS. It is faster because of its modular approach. And very important, it uses a concept called differential loading. Differential loading will reduce compatibility issues. Differential loading means actually, suppose we have two types of browsers. That means we have two types of browsers. So when we are using browsers also classified into two types actually. We call them legacy browser, and we call modern browser. Legacy browser can understand HTML4 and JavaScript 4. Modern browsers can understand HTML5 and JavaScript ES5 and higher versions. Now what happens is we built an application. Now when request comes from legacy browser, this application will generate library suitable for it. And if request comes from modern browser, it will generate library suitable for it. That means library will be according to the browser. That's very good. Earlier we have the same library to send everywhere, then compatibility issues will come. That means one browser is able to understand, another browser cannot. Compatibility issues will come. To overcome these compatibility issues, they started a concept, differential loading. This is the advantage of Angular. Angular main advantage is it is modular and it is supporting differential loading. That means it can run on any browser, any device, any operating system. Another important point is Angular you started using. I am discussing about all latest features also. It uses AOT compiling technique. Earlier, actually, JavaScript. If anybody asked what is JavaScript, then technical definition about JavaScript is lightweight, just-in-time compiled programming language. That is JavaScript actually. This is from official JavaScript people. That means officially what JavaScript people say about JavaScript. Generally, if I ask what is JavaScript, you people will say it's a client-side script. But JavaScript is not just client-side script. JavaScript is used server-side also. JavaScript is used in database also. JavaScript is used in animations also. JavaScript is not just a client-side script. Those days gone, right? You should not say that JavaScript is a client-side script. JavaScript is a language now. And it is used even server side. It is used in database. Node.js uses JavaScript server side. MongoDB uses JavaScript in database. JavaScript is not a client-side script. It is a just-in-time compiled programming language. What is meant by just-in-time? Just-in-time compiled programming language means actually we have two types of programming languages. Means actually here we have two types of compiling techniques, JIT, just in time, and AOT, ahead of time. What is difference is when a browser calls your application, what JIT will do is it will load the library in the browser and compile it in the browser. That means library is loaded in browser and it is compiled in browser. We call it as just in time. But now Angular is using AOT, ahead of time. Ahead of time means it will compile here only. And it will just send the output to the browser. This is faster. That means now developers can face all the features, that can use all the features that makes Angular more faster in compiling, more faster in rendering when compared to previous. This they started very recently from Angular 9 and 10 version, they started this AOT compiling. Earlier it was JIT only. So they started this AOT compiling technique. What is the advantage of this AOT compiling technique? It will compile at application level and sends to the browser. Earlier it was JIT compiling. So Angular becomes more faster. So these are the features, the major features of Angular. And all these technical features we are going to see, we are going to work with them. Now the point is they started with Angular 2 and the latest version of Angular is 13 now. So very recently, just 1 month back, they released a final So stable release of 13. Now Angular latest version is 13 and we are going to learn this version. We are going to work with Angular 13 on. What is latest, I will tell you what we will see. And very important is up to Angular 10, up to Angular 10. So it is in long-term support now, LTS. That means up to Angular 9 gone. That means no more supported officially. That means those versions are gone now, no more supported officially by even Angular community. So currently Angular 10 is in long-term support. Angular 11 is also in long-term support. LTS means it is also on long-term support. So 10 will end very soon. In 1-2 months, 10 is going to end, and Angular 11 will take so few more months to end. Angular 2, Angular 12 is now active. Angular 12 is active and Angular 13 is active. These two are the active versions currently. And very soon Angular 12 also will go into, very soon it will go into long-term support. Once Angular 14 or 15 comes, then up to Angular 11 will be gone. That means now the new features we have to use and we have to work with those new features. Now, what happened in Angular 13, I will tell you once we start learning about Angular 13, right? It's too early to discuss about them. Without touching it, we cannot discuss the features, right? But now, if anybody asked you, like, what is difference between Angular JS and Angular? Now you know the differences. We discussed Angular JS. Actually, one more point I should tell you. Angular JS is just a framework, right? But Angular, they developed it as a developer's platform. It's not just a framework, it is a developer's platform. If anybody asks what is a developer's platform, for example, Java technologies are there, Java technologies, .NET technologies are there. You should better say Java technology is a developer's platform. .NET technology is a developer's platform. Angular is also a developer's platform. What do you mean by developer's platform? Developer's platform means it provides everything end to end for a developer, from building to deploying, whatever required, everything is provided. That means a language is provided, a framework is provided, a testing tool is provided, deployment tools are provided, security tools are provided. If all are provided, then it is not a simple ordinary language. We call it as a platform. What is a developer's platform? Developer's platform provides end-to-end solution for developer. That means from building to deploying, whatever is required, everything is provided by this platform. That means it provides a language to build application. It provides a language to build application. It provides a framework to control application flow. It provides a framework to control application flow. It provides a framework for testing. It provides a framework testing. That means we don't need to download anything separately. Everything is inbuilt. And it provides tools. It provides tools for deploying. Deploying means publishing. That means a developer's platform will provide everything. End-to-end solution for developer. That means we don't need to download multiple libraries. Everything is integrated. Angular better say as a developer's platform. Of course, Angular is a framework, no objection. But it is more than a framework. It is more than a framework. It is a developer's platform. You see, suppose this is angular.io. So this is the official Angular website. And you see, it says the modern web developers platform. Officially, Angular people say that it is a modern web developers platform. What does that mean? That means generally people, when they start learning Angular, majority, any tutorial or anybody says that Angular is a framework. That's okay. But for a developer, it is more than a framework. It is a developer's platform. What do you mean by developer's platform? Developer's platform means it provides all the tools which are required from building to deploying. What a developer needs, he needs a language to build application. He needs a framework to control the application flow. He needs a framework for testing his application. He needs a tool for deploying. Deploying means building, debugging, and finally publishing on cloud or servers. And everything is provided by Angular. Angular internally have a language. Angular internally have a framework. It have a framework for controlling the application flow. It have a framework for testing. It have a tool for deploying, building, debugging, everything. So it is integrated with all these. That's the reason better to say Angular as a developer's platform. Developer's platform. I will show you here. We will see versions. Versions. Just you need to understand that. So these are the versions, Angular versions. Angular. So version, because some people have some doubts, that is the reason I need to check, show you that this is the Angular official release guide. This is the Angular official release guide. You see, as per the Angular official release guide, so up to 12 also in long-term support now. Only active version is currently 13. And you see that it is recently. So this active ends November 12, already ended active. So in this November 12, they made it long-term support. Active ended. Up to November 12, it was active. And the last month only, they made it long-term support. And see, according to Angular community, up to 9 versions no longer under support. They are no longer under support. This is official Angular. So that means they say that any problems up to Angular 9 version, we are not responsible. And even 10, 11, 12, our community will support up to so many days only. After that, they will also end. The current active version is 13. And it is easy. If you know the 13 version in a company, if you have to work in older versions, you can, it's no problem. I will show you the differences. I will tell you that in older versions, how it works, in new version, how it is going to work. That's not an issue, because the latest version 13 is backward compatible. Backward compatible means it can run on old version also. This application can run on old version. Few changes we need to do. Backward compatible. Which feature gone? I will tell you. What features are gone, we will discuss about that. So this is the basic difference between Angular JS and Angular. So what do you say? Is Angular advanced to Angular JS? Yes, of course, it is advanced to Angular JS. Is Angular replacement for Angular JS? Is it replacement for Angular JS? No, it is not replacement. It is just an alternative for Angular JS, because we have still Angular JS. You see, this is the Angular JS official website. Angular JS official website is this. And they say that you try our new Angular. So you try our new Angular. So Angular JS is still there. So you see, suppose I showed you yesterday. So suppose I am going with Naukri site. In this Naukri site, I am searching for Java full stack developer. I am searching for Java full stack developer in Angular here. And you see Java full stack developer roles are there. And in these roles, you can observe in these roles, some companies are asking for Angular. You see Angular. The companies are asking for Angular. And let's scroll here. And you can see some companies may be asking for still Angular JS. They here also they are asking for Angular. And you see here a company is asking TCS. TCS is asking for Angular JS and React JS. That is the point I told you yesterday. Nobody can say that Angular is good, React is good. For an experienced developer, he needs both. He needs Angular, he needs React, both. A web developer needs both. And it's not like Angular JS or Angular, which one is trending. These are all not correct points. There is nothing like which one is trending, which one is not, depending on project requirements. A senior developer must have knowledge of all of them, and a fresher can have any one. That is enough, because for a fresher everything is just like add-on. Okay, you know this, very good, right? That's fine. So but an experienced person should show all these. He should say that I know Angular, I know React, I know Angular JS also. Because if you are showing 3+, 4+ years experience, and obviously company thinks that you know all this. But depending on the requirement companies use, like that is the reason you can now never say that Angular JS is gone, nobody is using. TCS is asking. TCS is asking Angular JS, not Angular. Then nobody can say that my friend said Angular JS is gone, Angular is only there. So your friend is not bigger than TCS, na? After all, right? The point here is you need to know that the requirement of the project leads to all this. So Angular JS is not gone. So it is just an older one. We go with the new. And the question here, do I need to learn Angular JS to deal with Angular? No, you can directly start with Angular. After learning Angular, can I handle Angular JS? No, you have to learn it separate again. It is complete different. Angular JS is complete different. Angular is complete different. You have to learn separately if you want. But better go with Angular. In future, all the projects will go with Angular or React. Angular React only, right? So how this Angular works and how we are going to deal with this, we are going to start with practical. We are going to start with practical. So we will see how do we work with that, how do we handle and how do we work with that. Now we will start first with which language? TypeScript. Before going into Angular, first we need to start with TypeScript. We have to work with TypeScript. That we'll see from tomorrow onwards. Right, from tomorrow we are going to start practically now. That means how to install, how do we set up, because we cannot directly touch Angular without knowing the language TypeScript. First we will learn TypeScript, then we will go into Angular. And tomorrow we are going to start working with TypeScript. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue. All these notes I will upload into this GitHub Classroom link. So this is the GitHub link. I will upload here. This is here. In this location, I will upload all the content. All right. And you can continue until demos. Until demos. Once demos are finished, I will share a Google Classroom link. Right. In Google Classroom link, you can get all the notes related to this. Okay? Right. Then we'll continue tomorrow. Right.
Hello, sir. Can I ask one question?
Yes, Surya Kumar.
Yeah, sir, actually, I was asking like if I'm showing somebody like I have worked on Angular 2 years back, like some other version of. So, how can I do that if I'm
You can handle.
learning
So
currently?
I will give you an overview of what are the deprecated concepts in the older version and what are newly introduced, so that you can understand what to use in the older version and not to.
Okay, sir. Okay.
When we are
And
discussing about any feature,
mm,
about that feature, in which version it is compatible and which version not, I will tell you about every feature.
okay, sir. And sir, what is the duration of the class?
45 sessions. It will take 45 sessions.
45 session means in the January we can complete this.
Mostly by the
Oh,
January end you can finish it. Huh?
okay, sir. Sir, thank you, sir.
The prerequisite for Angular is HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Without that, you cannot handle. Minimum, it is required. Okay. Yeah, tomorrow our admin will share the previous video also in the Google here itself in the classroom. In the Zoom, tomorrow our admin will post you the previous class related video. You can do it, right? If you missed the session yesterday. So, okay, fine. We'll continue tomorrow.